You set such a high bar. I mean, because as a monk, we're not just, I mean, it rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Oh, just monk, monk, monk. But actually, we're trying to aim for the highest, most purest type of consciousness. And it's such a high thing to aspire for. Then when, as you say, it doesn't work out in the way that you expected, it can feel really, you can feel like maybe you've let yourself down, you maybe let other people down. And how did you kind of get through that period? What did you do next? And how did you kind of manage that?
Yeah, I think I think that's the closest I've ever felt to feeling depressed. And I think it's because, like you said, and I really appreciate you making that point, because you're spot on. You're aspiring for like complete cleansing and purification and to be of surrendered service, be better people. And then all of a sudden you feel like you failed at the greatest opportunity in life. And that's not easy to take. And I moved back into my parents' home. I had 18,000 pounds worth of debt. I didn't know how to have small talk again because that wasn't my life for the past few years. And I started to think, okay, what am I going to do now? And I didn't come back to a wealthy household. So I knew that I'd have to get a job and I'd have to start working. Yeah. And at the same time, I'd say the first month, I just went back to all my old habits. The first thing I remember doing was eat chocolate, because I hadn't eaten chocolate for 3 years. So the first thing I did was go and buy like a Cadbury's Dairy Milk or something and devour it. And that was amazing. And then I think I started listening to music again. And I think Drake was really taking off time. And I'd listened to him before at university, but then got back into listening to music. And I got back into waking up late and sleeping late and watching movies. I think I caught up on all 13 seasons of How I Met Your Mother. And like for the first month, I feel like I just dropped back into complete normality. And I remember just after a month of letting myself go in that way, letting go, I came to a realization that actually everything that I learned as a monk, if it's true, it should work in the real world. And if I practice it, then it should actually help me. And that I shouldn't see it as a failure. I should see it as training and education. And now's my opportunity to see whether these concepts and these themes really work. And so what I started to do is I would dress up and go to the library every single day, because I knew that I couldn't stay in my normal zone in my bedroom at home if I really wanted to change my life. So I used to get ready every day, not in a suit or anything, but just dress up and look presentable. I'd go to the library every day, different libraries across London, and I would sit there and I would continue to read the Bhagavad Gita and spiritual texts. And then on the other side, I would read business books and self-development books. And all I was trying to do was just build my mind strength again. I started meditating every morning again for 2 hours a day and making sure that I did that first thing in the morning. And what I started to see was just this sense of just learning and growth again. And then I started applying to companies. And probably about 6 months in, I'd been rejected from about 40 companies that I know would have given me a job. I'm a first class honors degree graduate. I went to Cass Business School. I've been a straight A student most of my life. And I was applying for jobs those were the qualifications required. But surprise, surprise, no one wanted to hire a former monk.
What did you put on the CV for those years? Did you try to adapt how you presented it, or did you just say I was in India as a monk?
Well, it was like I tried to point out the transferable skills, because as a monk, you do a lot of philanthropy work, and you do a lot of
project management, even. Yeah,
to some degree, you're still active, right? The paths that we chose, I always describe to people, like the morning was very much about the self, and the rest of the day was about service. And that's kind of like the two fulfill a monk's life in the paths that we studied in. And so for me, it was like I was trying to present my transferable skills, but for most people, they were like, well, a monk, what are your transferable skills? Sitting in silence and being quiet. I mean, what's that going to add to our company? And so 40 companies rejected me before interview, and I got really scared. I was experiencing fear that, gosh, I can't live off my parents forever. I don't have enough money. How will I build my life? What am I going to do? Like all the real questions of life. And I was 25 going on 26 years old. And all my friends now had been established in a company for 3 to 5 years. they were making money. Some of them were going on to put a deposit down on their first home. Some of them were in relationships. Some of them were getting married or engaged. You know, so much was happening for so many people around me. It was very natural for me to feel behind, that I was behind everyone. Mm-hmm. And I realized at that time that I had to start sharing what I'd learned, because that was what I've always wanted to do. And luckily, when I really got to know my friends, I started to realize a lot of them were actually experiencing more stress and burnout than the joyful, ecstatic lives that I thought they were living. And so they started inviting me into their companies to speak about meditation and mindfulness. This is 2013, remember, where all of these themes were actually very new, and these words were almost just about being defined in mainstream culture, if they were even there. And I started to do that, and I finally landed a job at Accenture as a beginner analyst. It was a graduate position. And so I started a role in end of 2013 at Accenture with people, most people were 3 to 5 years younger than me in the same role. And so that was my final breakthrough, which gave me a bit of stability. It gave
confidence. Did it give you a bit of confidence?
Yeah, it was a huge boost in confidence. And it just made me feel like, okay, I can figure this out. Like we can do this. And all that time I put in studying and meditating and everything else, that was where the superpower and the energy was coming from.